I'm back on the road again. This time I'm off to Singapore for the global launch of the OPPO Find N5, this phone right here. I'm super excited because on this trip I'm flying from Newark direct to Singapore and then Singapore direct to JFK, both considered the world's longest flights. I've done these flights many times before, but as an aviation geek, this is definitely a holy grail trip that I don't mind doing over and over again. And because the OPPO Find N5 has the largest battery on a foldable, I figured what better trip than to test it out. Hi, I'm MICHAELJOSH, your gadget matchmaker, and over the last decade, I've made it my job to show people around the world that tech can be easy, fun, and exciting. On this channel, I give you special access to the products I review, the events I attend, and all the interesting people I get to meet along the way. So, if you're looking for a long-lasting foldable phone, give this channel a like and subscribe, and I'll help you find the right one to match your needs. This is our OPPO Find N5 battery and charge test, world's longest flight edition. My day actually started very early in the morning. I was out of bed before 6 a.m. and by 6:30, I took the OPPO Find N5 off its wireless charger at 100%. There will be no charging until I get to Singapore, or at least until the phone dies. Knock on wood, it doesn't. I threw the Find N5 in my bag and I was off to Newark, New Jersey, where today's flight is scheduled to depart. Singapore Airlines flies SQ21 nonstop from Newark to Singapore and SQ23 JFK to Singapore. Both are considered the world's longest flights. And depending on the time of year, it can take up to 19 hours. That's almost a day. Speaking of almost a day, OPPO says the Find N5 can last up to 25 hours of continuous video streaming thanks to its 5,600 milliamp hour battery and the power efficiencies of its Snapdragon 8 Elite chip. Let's put that into perspective for a little bit. This is the world's thinnest foldable phone, but at the same time, it also has the largest battery on a foldable. Will it last the entire flight to Singapore? Well, keep on watching. The lift ride to Newark didn't take too long. I didn't think to film it then, but I thought how cool it would have been starting my day booking a lift to the airport and then arriving in Singapore and then booking a car to my hotel. Soon I was at Newark. Check-in was quick and easy, and I made it to the lounge with an hour to spare, so I used that time to catch up on some work. The lounge provided views of the plane, so I picked a seat facing the window, even if the sun was blaring hard. Nothing glasses and a cap can't fix. Soon though, it was time to board. Terminal B at Newark is pretty old, but I appreciate how little you have to walk to the boarding gate. Apart from a small confusion over seats, boarding was a breeze. My seat today, 20A by the window. Fun fact, this Airbus A350-900 ULR was specially built for Singapore Airlines so that they could fly this world's longest route. There are no economy seats on this flight, just 67 business class seats, making up about 75% of the aircraft, and 94 premium economy seats at the back. My seat is well appointed with luxe leather upholstery and mood lighting. The OPPO Find N5 fits right in. It's such a premium looking device. Whether I'm posing for a photo, attending an event, or a meeting, it's important that I look good, and so I also want my devices to look good too. They are, after all, an extension of my style. And whether you pick one up in misty white or cosmic black, the OPPO Find N5 really fits the bill. These bundled faux leather cases are also superb, but because this phone is so durable, I've been using the phone without a case. It's IPX6, X8, and X9 rated, so much so that the other day I was filming it out in the snow without any qualms. I love how thin it is and I like to use it like this, so thank God it's built tough.
End of flashback.
Shortly after settling into my seat, a welcome drink was served, champagne of course, and of course a pre-departure selfie is a must. Instead of using the selfie camera though, I turned on dual preview mode so I could use the main cameras and the front display for a live preview. With this as an option, I don't think I'll ever use the selfie cameras. After all, I can now use the best cameras on the phone. After a slight delay, we pushed back from the gate, and here is a quick takeoff sequence I shot on the Find N5. And just like that, we were in the air. 18 hours to go. Before we get any further, let's do our first battery check. It was 9:24 a.m. in New York, 3 hours since I unplugged, and my Find N5 was at 97%. So far, so good. Singapore Airlines provides decent internet on this flight, and for business class passengers, it's free. I personally struggle on any flight that does not have internet access. Last year, I took trips to Korea and China and was completely offline for almost a day. Thankfully, that was not the case here. Internet connectivity lets me answer emails, text friends, and post to Instagram. Unlike the Galaxy Z Fold 6, which has a narrow front display, the display on the Find N5 is as wide as any other smartphone, measuring 6.62 inches diagonally. Combine that with the fact that the phone is so thin and light. This feels like the Find N5 is just like any other candy bar smartphone, but when the need calls for it, I can open it up and it doubles in size. I love not having to open it up, but there are times when a larger display makes things so much easier, especially if you're like me and age is taking a toll on my eyes. So obviously reading is an example, whether that be a website or endless scrolling on Twitter or X. Today, I was spying on OPPO Chief Product Officer Pete Lau, who's been dropping teasers about the Find N5 for the last week. Talk about spoilers, Pete. Last thing I needed to do was book my parents a hotel room in Singapore. Every time I'm in Asia, I try to hit two birds with one stone, and I always try to see my family. So we agreed to meet up in Singapore. I found them a room at the Intercontinental where I'm staying. With work out of the way, it was time to get comfy. I was served another glass of champagne with some warm nuts, and figured I'd pair my favorite Marshall Major 5 headphones. And hopefully later I can watch some videos. Keep in mind that being always connected to Bluetooth will consume a little bit of power. I asked for an amenity kit and slipped into these slippers. Then it was time to change into something more comfortable. Singapore Airlines doesn't provide any PJs, so I brought my own. This super luxe set from Lululemon is my favorite. Okay, now time for lunch.
A little while later.
With lunch out of the way, it was time to really settle in. While Singapore Airlines business class seats give you some good recline, you can also switch to bed mode. And just so I could film it, I asked my flight attendant to make my bed for me. She even tucked me in. One of the best parts about the phone with a screen this big is gaming. When open, the Find N5 measures 8.12 inches, and what better way to keep yourself occupied on a flight this long? Because I wasn't sure what the internet connection would be like, I made sure to download some offline games before my flight. Mini Metro, an old favorite that lets you manage an ever-growing subway system, and a city builder called Pocket City 2. I started with Pocket City 2, but it stressed me out so much. My residents were so demanding. So I settled with the arguably less stressful Mini Metro. I actually haven't finished my game, but if this subway map is any indication, this is the farthest I have gotten ever. I think I'm currently at level 8. I'm not sure how much longer I'll survive, but I still have the game here and I might resume it a bit later. If I had a more reliable internet connection, I would have probably played some PUBG, which I already have installed on the phone. Now, don't be fooled by its thin form factor. The Find N5 is very powerful, and with Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, it can handle any task or game or app that you throw at it. All of this I'll be covering in my review, so make sure to subscribe and watch out for that. Almost 2 hours of gaming later, it was time for another battery check, and we were at 58%, with camera, Chrome, Instagram, and Mini Metro as the biggest consumers of my precious juice. 12 hours of flight time to go. At this point, I was getting sleepy, but I wanted to watch some videos. And for this trip, I decided to catch up on Severance now that season 2 is out. And also now that Apple TV is available on Android. Again, I wasn't sure about the internet, so I made sure to download episodes before the flight. The show airs in 16:9, which perfectly fits one half of the display in tablet mode. So I just folded the phone and used the second half as a stand. One episode of Severance is about 50 minutes, but I finished in about 1 hour and 30 because a few matters popped up requiring my attention. So I was also on my phone multitasking and answering some texts and emails. I was too sleepy to film my battery percentage, but I took this screenshot before I shut my eyes. It's been 7 hours since I unplugged my Find N5, and it's still got 44% left.
Many unbearable hours later.
I woke up to the clatter of glasses as the crew began prepping for the second meal service. To get people in a dining mood, the lights are slowly dimmed up. 7 hours to go. I took a look at my phone and caught up on the messages I had missed while I was asleep. By now, my Find N5 has about 40% battery left. Not bad for idle drain. About 13 hours and 30 minutes since its last charge, with about 4 hours and 23 minutes of screen on time. Speaking of time, I was starting to lose track of it. While still relatively dark inside the cabin, we were chasing sunsets outside shortly after my dinner arrived. The highlight of which was this noodle soup. Of course, I snapped photos of the entire meal. Sometimes on these long flights, when it's supposed to be nighttime, they won't let you open your windows even if it's bright outside, but thankfully the OPPO Find N5 can take great photos even in low light. So all of my food photos came out great. If you want to see more photo samples across different kinds of scenarios, make sure to check out my review. As we headed into the second half of the flight, I realized that with the time change, I had less than a day to finish this video. So I got to work on a script. I actually brought along a Bluetooth keyboard and was hoping to get some work done on my phone, but then I realized it would probably be faster to just get it done on my Mac, and I wanted to save that extra juice to watch another episode of Severance. And so after putting the script together with 3 hours of flight time left, I made my bed, I switched back to bed mode, and curled up with another episode. I have to admit, I fell asleep with it playing, found it paused at the 40-minute mark, so I put the phone away until it was time to get up as we approached Singapore. And the phone had 17% left. It survived the flight, but how much longer will it stay alive? I continued to take photos and videos while at Changi Airport, and it's no surprise why this is one of the world's best. It's beautiful, efficient, and in no time, I was retrieving my bags and giving hugs to my parents.
Later that night.
The phone is still alive. We are at 8%, but I'll do a final battery check at the end. I kind of want to wait till we hit our 24-hour mark, which is in 24 minutes.
Many minutes later.
And here's the final update. My OPPO Find N5 finally died on me 1 day and 20 minutes after removing it from its charger. But not before I used it to book a ride to Newton's Hawker Center for dinner. And so I kind of did start and end booking a car ride. Screen on time was a bit under 6 hours, and these were the apps that sucked most of my power. Apple TV, 13.52%, camera, 13.18%, Instagram, 4.29%, Mini Metro, 3.14%, and Chrome, 2.46%. And now that we're in Singapore, it's time for a GadgetMatch charge test. The OPPO Find N5 has silicon carbon batteries, which is how it's able to pack so much more capacity in this super slim form factor, unlike many of its competitors, like the Z Fold 6 from Samsung and Google's Pixel 9 Pro Fold. It also supports super fast charging. 80 watts wired with the bundled Super VOOC charger, and 50 watts wireless with these optional AirVOOC accessories. With the bundled charger and cable, I was able to get to 30% in 10 minutes, 69% in 30. A full charge took 53 minutes. I don't want to spoil my review, but I really must say I have enjoyed using my OPPO Find N5, and I will continue to do so, not just in Singapore, but when I go back to the States. Battery life has always been a pain point for users, and I think this year we're finally seeing some big changes, and we have companies like OPPO to thank for really pushing the innovation in this space. But I want to hear from you. Is battery a major factor in shopping for a new phone, and what do you think of the OPPO Find N5? Let me know in the comments section below. Make sure you're subscribed because our review is coming up, and hit that bell icon so that you get notified as soon as we upload. Follow me on social media for all the behind the scenes fun stuff, and for news and updates, make GadgetMatch.com your daily habit. Until the next video, I'm MICHAELJOSH. Thanks for dropping by.